Hi, I'm the Robert Knoll. This is the E Open Blues Journey, Part 8. This is a special journey. We're dealing with the diminished scale. Now, there are different forms of diminished scale. That is by picking a tonic note, whatever your root note is, and then alternating whole steps and half steps from that starting note, from your root note. Because of that, it's half diminished scale. Half step, whole step, half step, whole step, half step, whole step is a formula, okay? Why am I showing you a diminished? Well, I did augmented in a lesson before. I've done the major scale we started this journey off with, and the major blues scale. We've done the minor scale and the minor blues scale. Been dealing with the key of E open, meaning open string to say the 4th or 5th fret, keeping and utilizing the open strings whenever possible. There are also alternate fingerings and patterns where we can close some of those open strings if we wish. There's a lot to do with starting to see this open E because it's dealing with the open. It trains you to really know the intervals in all of your scales. Knowing your intervals is very important. You should look at my videos on 12-tone scale, and the 12-tone chromatic intervals would help you a lot to memorize that. You might be a beginning student. This might be a little heavy for you right now, but you'll get to hear what the diminished scale sounds like. You're intermediate. Well, you can start to learn your diminished scale and how it is different than your other scale patterns and what it sounds like. What emotions does it bring in? My opinion or thought on a diminished scale is basically the mood is unique. It's abstract. It's outside, inside, outside type of thing. My guitar philosophy Trinity, not the religion, the guitar religion Trinity, chord, scale, arpeggio, we want to be able to look at the 12 tones, whether I'm playing an E chord or an E minor chord, adding sevens to the E chord, to the E minor chord, adding nines, adding different intervals. There's 12 tones. What is accessible to me in this chord shape of an E minor chord or an E major chord? And then we've had other variations on the E chord where we can look at other types of E and arpeggios, the sevens, the really warm major E chord, variation. Our other E chords in the augmented scales, we even explored the augmented variety, which brought us into that, or the and getting us into those other kind of weird moving and whole steps. But this lesson's on the diminished. Let's look at a diminished. If I start on E, E is my home, my root, or E, the tonic, right? We can call it E. If I go a half step, I'm to F. That would be considered a minor second. I go to G, that is a whole step away from F, and that would be your minor third. If I go a half step away from G, then we've got a major third. Wow, isn't that interesting? A minor second to a minor third to a major third. We've got both major and minor in this diminished scale. Kind of weird, huh? Wow. Okay, my next interval would be going from the major third to the A sharp. Now, the A sharp is a tritone or flat 5. Interesting. Now I'm to the perfect fifth, and from the perfect fifth, I go to a major 6. Tritone, perfect fifth, and now from the perfect fifth to the major 6. Wow, a major 6. And then I go to open D, which would be my minor 7 or dominant 7. Interesting. Then I get to my E again, and once again, the minor second. G is the minor third to a major third. Once again, the tritone. Then the open B is my perfect fifth, major 6, minor 7, back to root. And if I continued to go, I would go root to the minor second, minor third, major third, and then that could continue. If I wanted to go out of the open E area, I would go from extending, and then I would go to the, of course, the tritone, As you learn all of your scale patterns, you can get out of the open area and apply them to the closed forms like form 1, form 2, form 3, form 4, and form 5, and encompass the whole landscape, the whole geography of the guitar fretboard. That said, let's listen to a little bit of the sound of what's going on with this type of diminished scale that I'm playing. If I'm including that in the blues, you know, I've got my blues scales, but now I've got then I've got also to bring into play might be the arpeggio that I would use. Well, I would go from the root, my tonic, to this F, which would be my minor second, and then I go to the major third of E, which would be the G sharp, and then I go to the perfect fifth of E, which is B. But I've got that weird minor second in there being F, right? And then I go once again to D, which would be my dominant 7. And now I'm back to that minor second, which is the F sharp, the major third, which is G. And then from the major third, G, I go to B, which is the perfect fifth. Once again to the 7, minor 7, which is your D. And then we're back to the F. And then I would continue to that G sharp, which is my major third. So listen to this. So E, here's my arpeggio. Now look at the forms, look at the shapes, because this is movable. E. Scale, arpeggio, scale, I'm playing the blues. I'm utilizing minor blues scales. How about the augmented? Now diminished. I could just improvise all day long on just going from different scales in open E, kind of applying my major scale, my minor scale, my minor blues, my major blues, my pentatonic scales, even my augmented I can bring in there. If I want to hear some dissonance, some outside, experiment with some other creativity and emotions. Now we've got the diminished half-tone, whole tone series, right? Wow, how cool is that? So we've got another realm of scales to explore and arpeggios. And what about chords? Well, if you start looking at your chords, you see this typical minor form. So you have this form. I'm rooting that from the F, from the minor second. But I can see I've got the major third in there, I've got the 7, I've got the 5th, so I've got all the notes that come from my diminished scale. And then if I went to B here, and I did B, F, G sharp, D, I've got my B, I've got my minor second, my major third, and my minor 7, dominant 7. If I play this chord from G sharp to the minor second, to the perfect 5th, to the 7, actually barring my first finger here for the F to the D on the top, right? Second finger, first finger, third finger, first finger. You can should analyze the intervals here, right? And then I go to my B, second finger, F, third finger, G sharp is barred, G sharp for the index finger, my fourth finger, and my fourth finger is playing the minor 7, and then if I wanted to add that top note, 5 note, that would be my minor second on the top. And then the other diminished chord is like I said, the F, the B, the minor 7, and the major third. And all of these, they're all movable in minor thirds. Every step and a half, you're open D, G sharp, open B, and F, up a minor third to F. And next week, ladies and gentlemen, we take the B and you go from B up to D, that's a minor third, up to F, minor third, A flat, and then you're back to B. It repeats in minor thirds, step and a half. Intervals, okay? F, D, G, open B, and I go from F up to G sharp. So I can utilize those forms. Diminish is fascinating when you get into studying the intervals and how you can use the diminished scale, the diminished arpeggios, the diminished chords. It gives us that outside. Remember, we're always talking about tension and release. Tension and release gets to consonants and dissonance. Consonant tones are like a major third. But we've got tritones, dissonance to deal with, right? We've also got the minor third. We've got that minor 7. It's got some very interesting intervals that come out of the half step, whole step, diminished scale. Anyways, I hope this gets you to just start wanting to care about your scales, all of your scales, because it's a journey. It's like an exploration. And then I think my next series of videos at some point will be going to the closed, out of open to closed with all scale forms. So there's a lot more to do. And there's the modes, okay? You've got your modes, many other types of ethnic and cultural scales. It's fascinating, the study of scales, and that gets you in the study of arpeggios and chords, the Trinity, right? Opening up the theory, the understanding of what intervals are in your chords, what they're built on, and how to build arpeggios, and how to utilize your scales. Then you can improvise. Then you hear whatever you hear in nature or other types of sounds, your creativity, your emotions, your 12-tone scale. You're not limited to anything musically. Like I've said before, playing the blues, If I just stick to a blues scale, minor blues scale, major, then I kind of sound like every other blues guy, right? Every other blues solo you've heard, and they're great, they're wonderful, and the styles of different blues artists, which I'm covering and have been covering in all of my videos. When we step outside and we still are playing blues and considering the tension and release in 12 tones, then we become, in my opinion, a more versatile blues player or guitar player, because we've opened up the door to all the intervals and the scales that aren't normally used. If we can find ways to bend notes and vibrato those notes and bring them into play, then we're being more versatile. We're bringing in more emotions. All right. Once again, I appreciate you looking at the videos. I really recommend you go through all of them. Go through this whole journey that I've been on, the open E blues journey. Start with number 1 and work your all the way up through all of the parts, okay? It would be really great if you would subscribe or hit the like button. You can also send me questions, comments. I love to hear from you. Also, when you're ready to get at another level of studying, when you really want to get serious studying with me, you can become part of my family. To do that, you have to go to the Patreon site, which is called My Guitar Zone. Then you can come in and join at a certain tier where you could even have lessons with me. I could see you every week or every other week, or maybe once a month. We do those lessons remotely. When you go to the Guitar Zone, there's a lot more charts. You can do searches on a lot deeper searches on everything to do with guitar, all my teaching, my guitar philosophy, my guitar science, my wannabe guitar neurologist moniker. Anyways, I'd love to have you. So just there's a link there for you to go over to the Patreon, check it out, and I hope you'll join. Definitely make sure you've joined the YouTube site here. All right. This was all on the diminished scale. There's lots of diminished scales, okay? And diminished scale, diminished arpeggios, and diminished chords. Know your intervals. It's going to help a lot, okay? And then you can get your techniques in there, your bends and your vibratos. The creativity is, hey, it's going to explode.